Meeting called to order. Today is Wednesday, March 6, 2024. This is a special budget meeting. Would the clerk please read the statement of compliance?
This meeting is being held in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Law, duly announced, advertised, and posted in the municipal building. The meeting will adjourn no later than 10 p.m. unless a majority of the council members that are present vote to extend the time.
All rise for Pledge of Allegiance. Chief, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Roll call.
Mayor Kamala,
Present.
Councilwoman Gofredo. Here. Councilman McCann,
Present.
Councilman Pignatelli,
Here.
Councilman President Saliani,
Here.
Councilman Slasinski,
Here.
Councilman Talamini.
Here.
Do I have a motion open to the public?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Not seeing any public. Motion to close?
Motion.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so tonight is the second meeting of our budget meetings, and we had the first meeting on Monday. And tonight, we're going to be hearing from Mr. Coons, Mr. Young. The police department's going to take us through their budget along with the fire department and the DPW. At this time, I'd like to turn the meeting over to Mr. Coons.
Thank you, Mayor. Just very briefly this evening, kind of encapsulated the order of business for tonight very well. I'm going to actually turn it over to David. We have a very brief tax rate update for you. There was actually a little bit of development since our meeting Monday night. That's a little bit positive for the public. So, David, do you want to?
Certainly. So Scott gave us the latest assessment net valuation taxable average assessed home that's been submitted to the county officially, and it actually lowers the municipal tax levy rate, not the levy itself, but the rate itself. So instead of $67.54, it's now $65.94. So it is a small change, but it is a change in favor of a downward trend for the resident. That is the only thing that is changing in terms of the presentation we went through so far from Monday.
And Mayor, I think with that, we can get right into the presentation. And the first department presenting this evening is the police department. Here this evening are Chief Sanzeri and Captain Keenan. Chief?
All right. Well, thank you very much. Thanks for having us here tonight. We haven't done this in quite some time, maybe 5 years or so, and there's some people on council that maybe don't know exactly what happens in the police department as far as operations. So if you could just bear with me for 5 or 10 minutes, I just want to give a brief overview of the structure of the police department and some of the things that we do and the responsibilities that we have. If you just look at, I think it's page 3 or 4, where it's goals and priorities for 2024 in the small blue box, that's basically how the police department is structured. We have administrative command, that's basically made up of the chief, a captain, and 2 lieutenants. They all have different responsibilities. Just if I could go through them a little bit, just so you understand the administrative responsibilities a little bit. And some of these things you might not fully understand. If you have any questions or comments, or need any explanations, just at the end I can go over some of the things for us, for you. Some of it is just law enforcement jargon and things like that. So, like I said, it's a chief, a captain, and 2 lieutenants. One lieutenant is a patrol lieutenant, and the other is an administrative lieutenant. The administrative lieutenant is basically is in charge of the Detective Bureau and investigations. They're also in charge of the Records Bureau, firearms investigations, expungements, property evidence, cell block management, the Juvenile Bureau, Megan's Law, forfeiture. They're a liaison to all the schools within Oakland. He's in charge of the pre-employment investigations, and he also assists with the accreditation process. The patrol lieutenant is basically the patrol commander. He's in charge of the patrol division. He's the criminal justice reform liaison, the domestic violence liaison, handles all accreditation. He's a supervising firearms instructor, an internal affairs investigator, a bear officer liaison, the Field Intelligence and ROC Liaison, which is the Regional Operations and Intelligence Center for the state police in the state of New Jersey. He's also a rifle instructor. And then also the captain, who is to my left, he has a number of responsibilities as well. He's the training coordinator. He's in charge of the traffic bureau, scheduling, extra duty scheduling, the internal affairs supervisor, field training officer coordinator, administers the crossing guard program, body armor liaison, Narcan liaison, alpha test liaison, communications liaison, handles vehicle maintenance, pre-employment. He's the municipal court liaison, public information officer, Oprah, mandatory drug screening that we have to do for employees, and the body worn camera coordinator.
Who's the administrative lieutenant in command?
Mark Piercy. And Mike O'Neill is the patrol lieutenant, and Captain Keenan is here. So that's basically the administrative command structure. That's what we do. You know, they kind of oversee everybody else and all the responsibilities within the police department. Next is the patrol division. That's basically the heart and soul, the backbone of the police department. They do all the work. They do the shift work, and they're out there doing all the hands-on, you know, boot on the ground work.
And how many police officers do we have total so now?
Police department's 28.
We have 28.
We have 28 total. That's patrol and administration and everything.
Thank you.
We have the Detective Bureau. Obviously, they handle all the criminal investigations and caseloads. They also do the firearms background checks for pistol permits, firearms ID cards, public concealed carry. They also do the background checks for first aid squad members, fire department members, coaches, and borough volunteers and things like that as well. We have the Traffic Bureau, which obviously handles all the traffic-related issues in town, both proactively and reactively. You know, for the motoring public, for pedestrians, and just overall safety in the borough. Communications Division, that's basically our dispatchers that we have. We have 3 full-time dispatchers and 3 or 4 per diem dispatchers that work the weekend and also fill in any gaps that might come up. They dispatch the police, fire, and the first aid squad. Records Bureau, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's just basically where we file and maintain all of our police records and cases. And, you know, obviously they are held quite securely, but they are given out at appropriate times to appropriate persons, you know, whether it's through Oprah or Discovery or to the prosecutor. Information and technology, that's all Mr. Dyes right there. He has been doing a great job with all of the influx of information and technology and all the things that has come upon the job of a police officer over the last few years. It's become very advanced as far as technology, and you know, he doesn't just do computers and software and hardware, but he is very well versed with the servers, the radios, the telephones, body-worn cameras, in-car cameras, all the technology that goes into the police departments, the police cars, and the like. And then we also have the Class 3 police officers. They handle school security for the Oakland Public School District schools, which is 1 middle school and 3 elementary schools. So that's basically, in a nutshell, the structure of the police department. As far as goals and priorities for 2024, 3 things that I listed here was accreditation, the law enforcement surplus program, and succession planning for 2024 into 2025. Accreditation is always an important thing that we always keep up here at the police department. We've been accredited for 3 cycles, which is 9 years. We're actually due for an evaluation later this month. The accreditation auditors are coming out, and they're going to do an on-site audit of us to make sure that we're meeting all the goals and expectations of the accreditation process. It's a very important process. It standardizes everything that we do. It creates clear and concise policies, procedures, rules, and regs, so that everybody that works for the police department knows exactly what to do and what's expected of them. and it's very standardized, and it's easy to follow, and everybody, knows exactly what they need to be doing at any given time. Reduces the liability for the borough, because we are an accredited agency, and we have been for quite some time. So we've gotten that system down pat, and, it just reduces liability because they know that we're following best practice.
Chief, who was your training officer?
The accreditation, the one that handles accreditation? Or
No, training of the...
Captain Keenan's our training officer.
Okay.
Yeah, he makes sure that everyone does their training. He also schedules people for training. And Lieutenant Mike O'Neill, he's the main driver with accreditation. So, our LISO program, or Law Enforcement Surplus 1033 program, that's a program that's available to all municipal police departments where they have federal surplus equipment available to them for free, basically. You just have to go into their database, find what you need, fight through the different levels, because they give priority to federal levels, and then state levels, and then county levels, and then whatever's left over, we can scrounge for on the municipal level. But
Have we been successful with anything?
yeah, we've gotten quite a bit of things. Most notably, we got a Humvee about 1.5 years ago that we used for high water flooding rescues. We actually used it last year to get somebody out of Glen Gray. And we also got 2 vehicles that we use for outside details, so we don't have to use, our marked vehicles. We don't have to buy any vehicles. We just use them for outside details, and for the SLEO 3s, they can take those cars to the schools.
Were they Chevys or?
One is a Chevy and one is a Ford Crown Vic. It was basically like a military police vehicle, and it's silver, so it fit our needs perfectly. We also got a storage container out back next to the shed. I don't know if any of you have ever noticed that. It's not a sizable one that you would imagine, like that goes on ships and things like that. It's maybe 10 feet, maybe 8 feet.
We also got some traffic, I forget what you call them. Big dividers, no?
I don't think, the UDOCs, no, I don't think.
They look like a Jersey divider.
No, I don't think.
That wasn't through the...
No, we borrowed them
Oh,
from the county.
county.
When we need them for the carnival. and
I thought
floating.
Piantini got him when he was here, but maybe not.
That might have been through something else, but that was also
Okay.
quite some time ago.
Thank you.
And then succession planning, that's probably the most important thing for 2024 and the first quarter or two of 2025. We had one officer retire February 1st already this year. We have an administrative assistant that has filed for retirement for June 1st. We have a records clerk that is eligible, but she's not yet, declared when she's going to retire. And then we have 2 lieutenants, a lieutenant, 2 sergeants, a lieutenant, and myself that are eligible to retire this year. And then we have a lieutenant and an officer that are going to retire in the first or second quarter of 2025. So succession planning is a big part of this year. It actually it's already started. It started last year. Captain Keenan can talk about that. I've been sharing things with him and giving him responsibilities and explain, that's why he's here tonight, so he can experience this. He took part in the budget process for this year as well, so, and that's happening at all levels, with the various ranks that are leaving, so.
What's the word on the county training facility? Is it still closed?
They are scheduled to start an academy class later this month,
Oh, okay.
and they might do a second one in August. So we're gonna take advantage of the one in August if we can. If not, we have other options, Passaic County, we're allowed to go there. I think it's a nominal cost if we send someone out of county to Passaic County
Oh,
for
okay.
police training.
Mhm.
And Morris has a very good police academy as well, so we can always fall back onto that.
Okay.
We're currently looking for IGTs right now. We have their applications filled out. I think we called them in, and we're in the background process right now, so we're preparing on all fronts. Everyone's learning what they need to learn. We're trying to hire as best we can from the pool of candidates that we have.
How many GT candidates are you looking for?
We're hoping for 1, 2 would be nice. It all depends. We have some flexibility this year since we're looking for so many that, you know, we could take one, we could take two, we could take three. And then later in the year, it's just one or two less that we would need
But you budgeted for that,
to
right?
send, yeah.
You budgeted
Two
for how many?
two IGTs and
Okay.
2 officers later in the year. That's what we're able to do. And we'll see how that flushes out, because as you may or may not know, the pool for police recruits is dwindling quick. You know, I don't think, we're not seeing as many applications as we used to, so.
Mhm.
But we'll work through
And
it.
the IGT it's civil service to civil service?
Correct.
So if there's someone that's in a non-civil service town and they wanted to come, like,
They can't.
they can't at all?
Nope,
No.
they can't.
Chief, I believe you guys had a Facebook post about the next civil service test coming up for hiring. You want to just expand on that for the residents, for anybody that might be interested in police work?
So, in order to be a police officer in Oakland, you have to take the New Jersey Civil Service exam, and that's offered once a year. The application opened March 1st, and I believe it closes April 1st. So once you get in there and you register, you fill out an application, then you'll be notified later to take the test, and then you can take the test around in the summer, and then I think the scores will probably come out in November or December.
You also expand a little bit on the fact how we change the ordinance, how the local residents get preference over outside?
Yeah, so if you're an Oakland resident, you automatically get preference, which means that you will essentially be at the top of the list competing with other Oakland residents. And then if you're not an Oakland resident, but you're a Bergen County resident, you'll be put into that second tier underneath the Oakland residents, and then the list goes statewide on the third tier.
Thank you, Chief.
Yeah, no problem. So that is a quick department summary that is some of the goals and priorities that we're looking to accomplish in 2024. The next couple pages are just some more responsibilities and things that we do. I'm just going to hit on a few of them. If you guys want to, if you have any questions or anything like that, we can talk about it at the end. But, you know, obviously, we're in charge of enforcing criminal law here in Oakland. Motor vehicle law, we enforce the borough ordinances. We obviously manage the case law in the Detective Bureau for, you know, all the crimes that are occurring. I don't know if any of you read the Police Department Annual Report for 2023, but Oakland, just like everybody else, is you know, the residents are having, you know, falling victim to identity theft and fraud and things like that. It's rampant throughout the entire country, so they were certainly busy in 2023 dealing with all those. Like I said, we dispatched the first aid, the PD, the fire department. We work with OEM when needed. We have our special threes. We manage the Narcan program, active shooter program and training. We do that on an annual basis. All officers are trained for active shooter. Captain and I have actually also done some private businesses that showed some interest in learning some active shooter tactics, and we're also going to schedule borough employees for active shooter training in 2024. We obviously deal with the Megan's Law registration. I mentioned all the background checks and things that we do for various firearms ID cards and things like that. Safety Town, we administer. I'm sure most of you are familiar with Safety Town, the Junior Police Academy. We do Book with a Cop every year for multiple grades at all elementary schools. We do the Coffee with a Cop periodically. We have our bicycle patrol that we deploy at various borough events, as well as when Valley Middle School is on a half day, because those kids love to walk to the Central Business District and hang out. So that has already proven to be a beneficial program. We handle the juvenile matters. We install child seats for the residents, you know, and obviously we keep a good rapport with all the schools. You know, we're always communicating with them, attending to their needs, and they help us out from time to time as well. So that's pretty much it for the department summary. Dave, do you want to?
Yeah, I mean, we have a very high level in terms of the police department salary and wages. You can see where I think most of the line items are flat. Most of the other line items here are contractually driven, based upon the latest police agreement that we have with their union. I don't think there's anything unique in there other than everything that we've talked about in terms of the people that we brought on board for succession planning and that we plan to, as well as the retirements, are in that permanent full-time line. So we've taken into account all those things that are going to be happening this year. So that is all built in and still comes in at a pretty good 2.7% increase year over year, which is, I think, the smallest increase of any department percentage-wise in the borough.
Well, you said that includes new police officers coming on board? That's what the chief was talking about?
It accounts for the expected retirements this year, as well as hiring and replacements, both IGTs and recruits going into the police academy.
And whenever we have, discussions on hiring, that flows all the way through. We take into account the effect on benefits and everything else that is headcount related.
So
all of
clothing
that flows
allowance
through
is
the budget.
going up too, also because of that?
Yes.
That's for additional outfitting of the new
That's
officers.
$2,800. And then school guards? That went up-
That's our crossing guards, yep.
that went up 8.6%.
Yeah, if you look at actual paid or charged for the year, it was 129 and change. So it's a slight increase from actual spending in 2023.
David, what was the breakage savings from the retirees to the new officers?
I can't tell you what the exact dollar amount is. We looked at it in total. We loaded their salaries in for the portion of the year they were here. At the same time, we loaded in new hires. So I don't have a number on what we saved in breakage. We think moving forward, as we get into next year, we'll see a better picture of that because we'll actually be able to look at full year salaries that have come out and full year benefits that go in. When they're retiring, they'll take some benefits packages with them. So that's a cost increase on that side while we lose a salary. So the breakage is not going to be what it used to be. It used to be get pretty significant breakage. You don't get as
It used
much.
to be an actual line item in the budget. I don't see it, so.
I've never done one.
You have, okay.
Nope.
Just a question on the overtime. I see it's been, was 203,000 in 2020, then went down to 167, 152, 149. What's driving that number down? That's a good thing.
Well, it could be a combination, we do have an extra officer or two than we used to have, so obviously there's gonna be less overtime incurred.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Keith has managed the operation very well.
I didn't wanna say that.
Well, so
Give yourself credit, why not?
I'll give you the kudos, right? It's scheduling management, I think, is certainly part of it. If you go back to 2019, and if we had 2018 and 2017 there, before we made the changes to dispatch that we made, that was driving a lot of that
Yeah,
larger
that
overtime
was,
number
yeah.
as well. And when we changed that system and how that was staffed, that drove a lot of the overtime away as well, because we didn't need officers on the desk as often as we had previously.
Thank you.
O&E.
Again, they're a pretty good story on the O&E. Most of the line items are maintaining, at 2023 levels. Few line items are up and some of them up rather significantly. Professional development is one that is up. It's a good one. They need to spend the time on their development. And I think we'll have Vin talk about the changes in the contracted services and some of the things that are driving that.
Contracted services went up 19,000.
Yeah.
Right, and most of that was IT related. So, Vin, do you want to sort of take it from there?
Yeah. So since we safeguard or have the most sensitive data in the town, we are constantly having to safeguard that data. And we have a multitude of services that we use, subscribe to. They're continually going up. We're adding things as the programs get more sophisticated for hacking and whatnot, we're adding more safeguards on there, and that just is continually driving the cost up.
That's like for malware?
So
Malware.
that's cybersecurity costs?
Yes.
That's for malware and
Yeah.
what else?
Antivirus, we have Trustify email services. We deal with 15 different vendors with different softwares that all have to have their own safeguards in place, so it's quite extensive. Yeah.
Multi-factor authentication, on the network, there's a cost to that every year as well.
And the employees, as we said before, all the employees are trained in
Yes.
how to be careful
Monthly,
monthly.
yeah.
And in-house training or,
There's, everybody gets an
Individual?
email.
It's basically a subscription service that we have
okay?
that pushes out online training monthly.
Oh, great, good. Thank you. And subscriptions, that's gone up quite a bit.
Subscriptions is just paperwork, books, and software.
But why is it double?
What's that?
Why is it double?
It depends on how many officers we plan on hiring in a particular year, because they all need to get their copy and to the software, and they use it in the police academy, and it's pretty expensive stuff. So that's we're planning, 4 officers, worst case scenario, to the academy. So that's, we up that a little bit just to take that into consideration. And professional development is up significantly. We want to give the younger officers the best training that we can. If they lack some knowledge or experience because of how new they are, we want to, set them up for success. So we up the professional development, which is basically the training that they go to.
The different short courses, et cetera?
I do all the training scheduling. The cost of the classes have gone up a bunch also. They used to be about $100, now some of them are $500.
You're not done at the police academies?
There's some free ones at the academy, but the more intense, better training you have to pay for through other companies.
Separate vendor?
Right. And also our armorers for the Glocks and the rifles, they have to be recertified every few years, and that alone I think is like $600 per officer. And we have to have the armorers to work on the weapons. It's not something we can
What's an
disregard.
armorer?
Someone
Describe
will
it.
take the gun apart, maintain it, if it breaks, repair it, that kind of stuff. You have to be certified to
Yeah,
do
for
that.
weapons, you're either a user level or an armorer level. So an officer can have a basic knowledge of the gun, how to shoot it and use it and maintain it, and then an armorer can break it down and take it apart into smaller pieces for more intensive, maintenance.
So that's someone in the department that does that?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know whether it was outside or inside.
We have to have them trained and certified to work on the weapons.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question on the contracted services. The numbers from 2019 to 2022 to this year seem to be all over the place. If you go to 2022, it's almost a 46% increase to the proposed this year. Do you have what's the breakdown of and if you look at 2019, it's close to today's proposed number. That's 46% differential, and if you even go to 2021, it's still 40%. So what's causing that big swing up and down, I suppose?
And was that when we went from
Yeah.
Do you remember?
and the cloud? Remember we had offsite
Mhm.
with that company, and then we brought everything back in?
Yeah, so we had a network refresh the end of 2019, and we brought the network back. So we were hosted, we brought it back in-house. That jumped up cost. We then rectified all the numbers with how many computers we had, how many officers we have. We keep adding. Every time we add somebody, it costs more money. I have a breakdown of everything for the last 3 years.
Okay.
I can share it with you.
No, it's just, as you can see, the numbers,
Yeah.
there's not a graph, there's not a trend line there established there. It's actually,
Yeah, we had somebody else do it for us, and there were some problems, and we needed to bring our business in-house and handle it ourselves. That's what that was.
okay, thanks.
Okay, any other questions on the operating expense budget?
And here is the proposed capital for this year for the police department.
So the capital is 2 vehicles. That's the purchase and full equipping of 2 vehicles. We're replacing 2 stationary speed signs in town. They're about $6,000 a piece. And then 3 Alpers, or automated license plate readers. That is for 3 intersections to be equipped with license plate readers at the intersection so that they can capture vehicles and vehicle plates as they drive by. Plate readers have been around for quite some time. A lot of different police departments and jurisdiction have them as part of their infrastructure. They're basically as good as having a police officer standing there. You know, they're sold as a force multiplier, and they certainly do that. If there's a stolen car that drives by, it red flags it, and it tells all the officers that are on patrol, just to make them aware of it. Often, you know, with all the stolen vehicles and things that are happening in Bergen County right now, it's a huge thing, an important thing. Typically, when they steal cars, they use other stolen cars, so as the stolen vehicles come into town to commit the crime, you know, we can know that they're there immediately, and then by placing them at different locations, we're basically creating a perimeter around all the entry and egress and, you know, exit points of the town, so that, you know, we know when they're here, and we know if they left or not, or if they did leave, which way they went. And, you know, it also helps with, every once in a while, we have some accidents, you know, some hit and run accidents, so if we see, you know, a license plate that gets caught by one of the plate readers, you know, it tells us who it was. You know, it's as simple as that. You know, it's a very good technology. We already purchased one intersection, Alpers for one intersection, but we haven't received them yet. So we have one about to go up, and then these 3 are gonna do different intersections around.
So they're not in cars?
No, stationary.
What's the anticipated lifespan of this technology?
I would say 5 to 7 years at least. On the hardware, you know.
Software is always updated, right?
Software, you know, that'll change. Software and maintenance, you know, that will always change. It might be more than 5 to 7 because it's a lot of different parts.
Does the cost include the software updates or just the purchase of it includes everything? It's all in vain?
That's everything, all right.
Is this a local initiative or is this a county-driven initiative?
This is local.
This is local, okay.
And we had discussed this with Richard, our administrator, when we received money for the bridge. We're going to ask for additional speed signs to be put up in the routes that people will be taking other than the bridge. And hopefully, those will be still here after the bridge is gone, so we'll have some extra, hopefully have some extra, right, Richard?
We'll see, we have a meeting tomorrow actually to conduct a follow-up to last week's meeting. To
So-
talk all about all of the traffic-related issues.
So hopefully
and funding.
we ask for more speed signs in that.
Yeah, that's one of the discussion topics for tomorrow.
Because we want to help protect the residential areas that traffic is going to be going through that hasn't normally gone through.
Right.
Chief, can you just explain to them how that works in real time? You know, when it's red and how,
Yeah.
without giving away the,
If a stolen car crew comes into Oakland, they get off at 287, they come down the entrance ramp by the courthouse Exxon, and theoretically, there will be a license plate reader there. So as soon as they get to the bottom of the ramp, the camera in the reader will read it, and then through the cloud, it will put an alert at a computer at the desk, and then in all the in-car computers. And it'll make an audible noise, it'll pop up on the screen red, stolen vehicle, it'll show the picture of the license plate that it took, and then all the officers know that it was there, and then with the build-out of this system, it'll trigger again at a second one, so then that will tell us the direction that it's going and where in Oakland it is, and, you know, and then they can't leave town without again passing a plate reader.
But we don't have that, we don't have that yet?
We don't have it.
What's the data retention time on that?
It's set by Attorney General guideline. If it's just general data, I think it erases after 30 days. So you need to do a look back before that, but flag things stay in there longer. But
Well, we do have plate readers in some of our police cars.
in the police cars, right? Yeah, so.
Because I see them parked on Rampart Valley Road.
Yeah, if they can read plates that way, and it tells them, you know, a number of different things, motor vehicle violations, stolen cars and stuff like that.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's literally like putting a police officer or a police car
Yeah.
in those areas 24/7, 365.
Now, we don't release this to the public,
What's that?
that we're gonna have these at all these locations in town?
We just did.
I believe everyone knows.
Well, I don't know how many people are listening to this, is what I mean.
It's a pretty common technology, and
Yeah.
I think it's important for the residents to know.
I think so too. I mean,
We're gonna
I feel
get it.
safer.
And another benefit to it is that it logs every plate that goes through, and it just does like an instant check for stolen or if it's flagged as
Wow.
a missing person.
Wow.
But say in the morning, all of a sudden, people are calling up, my car was burglarized, you know, whatever, we can go back and look at the plate readers and see what license plates were in that neighborhood possibly, and start trying to narrow down
Wow.
suspects.
Wow, great.
Yeah, so if there was a bunch of car burglaries, car thefts, robberies.
Yes,
assault,
anything, even if the vehicle used wasn't stolen at the time, if it gets entered at a later date, it'll give us a retroactive hit once it was entered, saying, hey, that vehicle was in your town at this date and time.
Yeah,
So by then, the car is disposed of. I mean,
Well,
Potentially.
We'll get them,
Sometimes.
later, we'll track them down. You know, if something happens between midnight and 5, there might only be 12 or 24 cars that pass the plate reader between that time, so we already know that we've, you know, put the suspect pool down to 12 or 20 cars.
Great.
Who else has access to this data? Just locally, or can it go to the county, state?
It's
Who else can
required
have-
to be sent to the county and the state, so we can see all the other police departments' information and they can see ours. It all communicates together. So it could, if we have a plate that we're looking at and it goes over to GWB, we can see their plate reader and know exactly where it went. And once we flag it, it shows as a flag for every plate reader in the state.
They would get our hits also. If we entered a missing endangered person or something like that, it hits the GWB, they would get notified.
Wow.
It's also an added safety feature for the officers when they're dealing with a particular vehicle.
Yeah, if you know, you know, a felon vehicle's coming into town, it's always something good to know. And that reminds me, it does help a lot with missing people or, you know, people with dementia and things like that, because we can enter their plate into the system. And then if they're driving around in Oakland or another town or another county, it'll get flagged, and then that police officer will find them, and then it will have all their information in there, that they suffer from dementia, the Oakland Police Department is looking for them, you know, so there's.
So you can also request the system to flag a certain
Yep.
plate if it does come through?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow, great. Thank you.
Don't go over to GW without paying.
No.
Amazing how they
pass.
find you on that one.
Easy pass.
Okay, any other questions for the chief?
And the police vehicles, that's just, it's just time. If we-
2 a year.
That's what we do, right?
Yep. You know what, I'd like to say that our replacement schedule hasn't been anything but normal, unfortunately, since the pandemic. We continue to fund 2 vehicles a year on that normal policeman schedule, but there's been some significant delays due to pandemic-related issues, I suppose, in the car industry, where, you know, there's been some, what was it, like 16 months to get into 2022, so they just came in January, and then 2 others, and they're in for outfitting. So eventually, that system will get back on track, where we're actually rotating 2 per year. But the rotation schedule is not back to where it was, but we're continuing that sort of steady state of funding, so that we don't fall behind on that.
And we try to reuse the sirens and lights as much as we can, right?
We rotate the vehicles, so there's basically primary patrol vehicles that are our newest, because they're the ones that are used the most, they're driven, you know, through town the way that they are. And then once they really reach a certain, you know, maintenance level, you know, and I speak with DPW and the mechanic to see what kind of shape these vehicles are in. Then they get dropped down to secondary vehicles, and they get dropped down to road details, and then they can stay there for quite some time. But you know, once we get the new vehicles that we have now in service and running, we'll be able to auction off some of those older vehicles. You know, we unfortunately got a couple vehicles from the manufacturer that, you know, after we got them, they had pretty significant engine issues, and this is with police vehicles. You know, every chief I talk to has the same cars, the same model years, and the same problems. You know, they use some cheap material in the engines, and when the lifters get hot, they deform, and they cause engine problems, so we're dealing with that right now. We have 2 vehicles at the dealer right now for that, so the new cars can't come fast enough.
Are we paying for that, or is the manufacturer paying for the defect?
It depends on the car. The first ones, the manufacturer paid for it. The second one, the manufacturer paid for it, and we'll have to see on these. You know, it depends on the mileage.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Thanks, Chief.
All right, thank you very much.
I could use a couple of minutes.
You want to take a quick 5-minute break? Next group we get set up? Okay.
I think we have going, right?
No. You can just move down. Change seats.
Hi. We're back in session. Next, we have Fire Chief Vince Dykes. You want to walk us through your budget presentation?
Sure. Thank you for having me this evening. We have, as of when this was written, 53 volunteers. I believe we've added 2 more. We have 55 volunteers, 13 life members for the borough. We are looking to continue what we've been doing for the last couple of years. We have some very big goals in mind this year. We're looking to become accredited, similar to what the police department is doing. That is going to be a large undertaking. We're looking to have a way to keep and retain members and get new members in. We've had a very successful junior program. We actually have an applicant hopefully going to get sworn in this month for that. And we are looking to just pretty much initiate or start up a rapid intervention team for the firemen, which is going to take a little money and a whole lot of training for them to do that. But
Hey, Chief, can I just interrupt you for just a moment?
Go ahead.
Could you just, for the benefit of the residents, just kind of give an overview of how to get involved with the fire department and daily duties, should somebody wish to volunteer?
Sure. So Monday night is drill night. You can come down 7 p.m. to either Firehouse on Hiawatha or Yalpo. We're there usually 7 o'clock, maybe a little earlier, till 9:30, 10 o'clock at night on Mondays. We are involved with the community more than we are just with fire. So we have a fire side and we have a civic side. We raise money, we go out, we do Santa Claus around town. Last year we had a very successful right before Christmas. We drove around at night and brought Santa Claus around most of the streets in Oakland. That seemed to be, people were waiting on the corners. That seemed to be really well received. We do other events. You see us around town. We do the truck day. Anything where the public can come and see what we do. We have trucks there. We have people there. We're trying to get the department into a place where you want to come and join. It's not a very easy thing to do. It's 6 months worth of schooling to become a fireman, and then you have to maintain a percentage once you're on the department. So it is quite involved. And luckily we had a really good junior program going. We've had a lot of success with maintaining those members through 18. And we need people who live in town who are young family members and they want to come and donate back to their communities.
And if they want to get involved, who do they contact or what do they do? Just show up at the fire?
They just show up at the firehouse.
Get an
And
application?
that's the easiest way. The guys there will welcome them in. We'll give them an application. We'll go over what's needed and we'll go from there.
Thank you, Chief.
Well,
Sorry, Chief, quick question. And under the goals and priorities, one of them is retention of members. Is there a specific reason or are there reasons, are we losing members? And what would the reason be?
It's always, it always goes in cycles. As people get too old and don't feel like their body can deal with this anymore,
Right,
they go to, as long as they've been here long enough, to a life member status.
right.
We are trying to get the younger crowd in. We have a good group of young people because, the fire department is not getting any younger.
Right.
And this is very hard work. So the longer we can keep somebody here, coming down from 16 up till 18, when they become a full member, they get a taste for what it is, they enjoy it, and then we try to keep them moving forward.
What's some of the benefits for someone who's interested in life membership?
Well, to be a fireman, you get a clothing allowance yearly. You also get LoSAP if you make all your numbers. And then once you've put, I believe it's 15 years in, then you can apply for life membership, and then you get to come to all the dinners. You can come out to the civic stuff, and you don't have to maintain a fire percentage or any of those requirements.
And Chief, it's also a great way if somebody wants to get into the fire service to join with the volunteers.
Absolutely.
Get their Fire One certification, then they can start applying for.
Yeah, career jobs.
For career
We've had a
jobs.
bunch of people do it. We have a couple career firemen on our department now. And it's a value to have them come in and get their feet wet and then get back out there into a career department. And then we've been very lucky. The people who are in career departments bring their training back to us. And that is fantastic. And one of those things in the goals was to establish a rapid intervention team. That is, if a fireman goes down inside of a burning building, this is a team of folks who are very specialized with their training who can go get those people out. And that is going to be, we've already started with drills, and that's going to be moving forward this year.
And where's the, what line item would that be in? What line item would that be in your budget?
It's just mixed into our rescue. I didn't add any more. We have a lot of this equipment now. It's a lot of training, a lot
Okay.
of time. The one thing that we did add was the accreditation.
Yeah, I see in the administrative support, fire department administrative support, went from 0 to 5,000. What's that?
Yeah,
from?
so that is something that we're looking to do towards the, probably the end of the year, and that is trying to alleviate the fire chief with a lot of the responsibilities of the financial end. This is a very in-depth job, and if this was a career department, there would be a lot of staff involved.
So you're thinking of hiring somebody then?
Yes, yep.
Yeah, we've been very, very fortunate with how long we've had Ben and how much he understands our purchasing, contracting,
Right.
bidding process, quotes, working with vendors. A typical department's gonna be a assistant, second assistant, chief, and a chief, that they flow through every year almost. And those, if we get to that point, we're gonna need somebody to look after all the purchasing stuff.
So this
It
is
has
something
changed.
both you and Rich support?
It's something that we've, honestly, this is something that's been sort of kicked around with other chiefs, even prior to Vinny, but nothing really had coalesced. And Vinny really has done an excellent job on the administrative side of running the department. You know, he's one of our strongest employees and people involved with the borough when it comes to managing costs and, you know, getting vendors to see things his way.
So you're looking to
on
have some-
purchasing. And so we thought, you know, the time is probably right to consider formalizing something. We didn't want to really add to budget cost for this. So if you see there's an offsetting decrease in the clothing allowance line, which has been rather consistently below that 52,000 the last bunch of years. So we just took it from that, broke out $5,000 of that. And, you know, we'll see how things progress into the fall and how we may, you know, set up some sort of a part-time position for that.
Now, this isn't someone outside the department? You're not looking for somebody in the department to do it?
We haven't really gotten that far down the road with this.
Yeah, I think, I don't want to speak for the chief, Councilman, but the chief's responsibilities over the last 20 years have just been more paperwork.
Well, I'm not saying that there isn't,
regulation.
but I'm wondering if
Yeah.
it's just gonna be an outside person or someone in the department already.
Yeah, I
We don't know
think
yet.
it really, you know, you're thinking about it, you look for somebody who understands fire as well. Because, I mean, when I get a purchase order change from Vinny, it's usually going down, right? He's wrestled them down to a lower dollar amount, but he understands their business. Somebody from the outside may understand purchasing and things like that, but may not understand the business of firefighting. So ideally, you would like both. And you could probably work with either side. If it's somebody that you're gonna have for a while and not be rotating, you can do the training on the purchasing side. You can get them to understand all the things they have to do, and theoretically, on the other side, you know, the fire department can help them in terms of understanding the fire over time.
So this is not something that would transition to a full-time position?
We're not, that's not been the discussion
Okay.
so far. at least,
Okay,
no.
all right, thank you.
Chief, I have a quick question for you. In the contracted services, that's your biggest jump in your
Right.
proposed budget, right? It accounts for your entire raise as well as in that services.
Yeah, that is the accreditation process for year
Okay.
one. That difference is that exact amount, and then year two, I believe it drops to 5,000.
And Vinny, would you just explain that accreditation process a little bit?
Yeah, it starts out with 3 to 5 policies per week being sent to myself, and I'll disseminate that to the other chiefs, that get reviewed, checked, sent back. With any corrections, it goes to Lexipol's lawyers. They review it, they make changes, they send it back to us, we okay it, and then it goes out to the department.
Thank you.
It's very, very similar to the way the police do it.
And this is an outside firm like the police department has?
Yeah, Yeah, Lexipol actually bought the rubber.
Oh, that's an inlet Lexipol?
Yeah, yeah.
Makes sense, thank you.
That's who's going to accredit you?
Yeah, well, they give us, we get everything in order, and then that goes to the JIF, and I believe there's some monetary benefit from the JIF back to the borough.
We get a line item credit from the JIF on the police accreditation. So
Oh,
we'll
good.
see the same on the fire department.
Yes.
Good, good.
Anything else on the OE or salary wage?
Yeah. Nothing crazy here. We have a fire department boat that we have had since the 70s. We've powered it, and it is operating fine. It's just taken some beatings over the years that we'd like to get the gel coat, fixed up, repainted, and that's that cost there. We're looking to get an electric combination tool which will cut and spread to put on a vehicle to replace our hydraulic unit.
I like the Jaws.
It's the Jaws of Life, but it's just electric, it's battery powered.
And what is it now? How is it?
It's hydraulic powered.
Oh,
I mean, we have a physical pump on the truck. You have to start it, get it running, connect hoses, that sort
But
of thing.
wouldn't hydraulic be more powerful?
It is electric over hydraulic. And no, the battery powered as everything else is going is far superior to the ones that are
Really?
connected. Yeah, plus you're tethered with a 100-foot cord, where the battery powered stuff you can take anywhere.
True, right, okay.
And they operate for, 45 minutes or so on a battery charge. So they're really pretty amazing. And they're constantly changing.
Just with the batteries, I know the batteries tend to be the driving cost on these things, and do you have a spare battery
Yeah.
that
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
Yeah, we have one, we're a Hearst department, so we have multiple batteries for them. So if we take one out, we bring another one with us,
Okay.
and still have more on charge.
Right.
Fire hose replacement, we haven't had that lot, asked for that in quite a while. We've lost a bunch of hose this last year of hose testing, and we need to replace some of that, especially the supply line. We have 5-inch hose, it's quite expensive per length. New Scott packs, we were able to get a grant a couple of years ago, but that grant didn't outfit the entire department, so we're asking for 2 per year until that number is hit.
How many do we need total?
We need another 6, I believe, on top of this.
So 8 altogether?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then a lifting bag, a 24.9-ton lift bag for large vehicles.
This is something you put underneath it? And
Yeah, it'll lift it on, yeah.
And how's that powered?
Air,
Here, there's the bag.
yeah. Yeah, it's pretty interesting stuff, but yeah, it's powered
Have you
by-
used it? Had to use it yet?
We don't have it yet. We have
this is a
other
new
ones.
item?
Yeah, this
Oh,
is
new
this
item.
is the
Oh, oh.
capital request, yep.
Okay.
And then the fire department apparatus funding.
Chief, can you just talk a little bit about the fire department apparatus funding? Wasn't there just a state law that they just passed, extending it past 20 years? Or is it-
I don't know about a state law. We go by the NFPA suggestions. So engines 20 years, trucks 25.
But it's not a requirement. It's
It is
just a
not.
suggestion.
It's a suggestion.
It's a benefit to us. If we go out and bond on a vehicle, what they've done is now extended the term of the bond so we can borrow over a longer period. Since we're reserving cash in advance as much as we can, we're paying cash and not paying any of the interest and fees.
No, I was
associated
just
with
asking
it.
you, just a policy.
So we're not
That's what
including
it's
that
for.
in this budget then? What?
We're including the $200,000 in annual
$200,000.
funding to replace the fire apparatus. We don't actually have a planned purchase for this year. It's, we're accumulating the reserves so that when we have to replace.
Pay
I know.
equipment.
What's the reserve amount now? Up to-
With this, it'll be $746,000.82.
And what's the next?
The next
83?
one,
Not 83? Come on.
the next apparatus to be replaced is 1032. It's a 2003 Pierce, and it is,
It's an engine.
yes, it is an engine, and it is looking to be replaced. We have a truck committee now. We've seen a couple vendors.
What's the cost?
It varies from 700 to 1.1 on an engine. You know, the prices are, every year they go up 10%, and that's pretty much standard across all vendors.
Are you having trouble with this maintenance?
But by the 20 years, yeah, they're ridden pretty hard for 20 straight years, so it definitely does help to, you know, put them to the reserve. Our reserve piece right now is a 1993, and it's falling apart. The
So-
amount of money that it requires to get in, you know, tip-top shape is not worth putting into it.
So when do you anticipate this?
We're starting the process this year, depending on the funding and depending on how much the quotes come back at this year or next year, is what we're looking at.
And you'll make sure it fits in the garage, right?
Absolutely.
And what we've talked about too is with the price escalations that we're seeing in the fire apparatus industry, well, we're not proposing an increase in that $200,000 amount for this year's budget. Going forward, we may need to increase that to $250,000 or even $300,000, or we risk getting very far behind on the replacement schedule. Because, you know, if it is 10% a year, and don't know how long that'll last, but that's been years now, give or take, you know, that's eating up that capacity of that $200,000 and making it, you know, adding years before you can actually go out and buy a replacement apparatus.
Vinnie and I are going to sit down in, you know, March, April, and we had a schedule a few years ago which helped us identify the 200,000 as what we thought we would
Correct.
need. So what we're going to do is we're going to reevaluate the costs of each vehicle, throw it into the schedule, and then say, okay, where are we and what impact that's going to be. Then we'll bring it back to, you know, the finance committee and the, you know, the governing body and say, okay, this is what we're looking at, what do you think we should do?
How's I understand the ladder truck had a lot of problems in the beginning, or a little bit of problems?
No, it's a custom-built truck.
There was something. Something went wrong.
Well, it's a heavy-duty truck. Things break all the time. As far as the operation of it, we had there was I forget, the rings on the truck, I don't want to get too technical, but we had a auto stowing issue that they had to replace.
A what?
Auto stow. So
How's
you
that?
press a button and the ladder will go down and bed itself. And that feature had an issue. They had to come out and replace that.
And that's okay now?
That's fine. Now it's good.
So there's no problems with this ladder truck?
Nope.
Chief, it's all covered under warranty, right?
That was,
It's all warranty. Yep.
yeah, the warranties on the apparatus are pretty much a year on the body, and then, you know, you get the drivetrain warranties are a little different.
So we've had this now 3 years?
I think we took delivery in 22, but I believe we're going on 2 years.
So we're out of warranty.
Oh, yeah.
Is there any sense in buying extended warranty on these things, or can you even?
I don't think they offer an extended warranty on them,
Yeah, I mean,
because of the
cars they
nature
do,
of
but-
the, you know, every department's different. You have a city that'll put, you know, 10,000 miles on it
Yeah,
in a year.
Right.
We're not that
no.
busy.
Okay. Did you have a question?
No.
Oh.
I have a quick question. I might have missed this. What's a Scott Pack? Is that
A
something?
Scott Pack is the self-contained breathing apparatus we put on our backs when we go into a fire
Thank
or
you.
other areas where we can't breathe the air.
And you're saying you need to replace 6 of them, or what was it?
In total, 8.
Okay.
This is just asking for 2 because they are very expensive.
And we did receive, I think it was a $250,000 grant.
Yeah.
And replaced the majority of 2 years ago.
It just didn't get us the total number that we had.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions for Chief?
I would just like to, just side note, just thank you. I didn't realize you do all of this. I didn't realize you were the chief, and thank you for everything you
Oh,
do.
you're very welcome. We have a lot of very skilled, dedicated people in the department.
Yeah, thanks.
You're very welcome.
Anybody else?
Any other questions? Great job, man. Thank you.
All right, next.
Wonderful.
Thanks, Vinnie.
Thanks, sir.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Drive safe on your way.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be a rough one.
Do you want to bring DPW right up?
If everybody's
Yeah.
Hang with me.
Let's just keep going.
have a good one.
Is there anybody in the bocce court? I never see anybody on the bocce court. Anthony, has anybody used the bocce court? I've never seen a person on it.
I did. Anthony, come on.
Well, I for squalling, but I mean, I haven't seen anybody
We
there.
actually, was that you, Craig? That Scott Ciccarella dominated Craig Oberheim and Mike McMahon in bocce, and they haven't shown up to play us again.
Well, he moved out of town. Yeah, Mike. He had to move because of
Scared
it.
him out.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank the superintendent, Marcel. You want to introduce your team for us?
Absolutely. We'll get started. This is Kevin Casario. He's assistant superintendent and been responsible most recently for overseeing a lot of the construction with the PFAS and as well as the sewer project. To his left, Craig Oberheim. He originally started 20 years ago within the road division, and we had a mechanic retiring, and Craig was always very handy with on if a vehicle breaks, he could fix it out on the road and things. And then I find out later that he's a certified mechanic and vehicle maintenance specialist, and
He didn't list that on his resume?
I don't think he wanted to.
didn't want to do it anymore.
That's why it wasn't on his
And
resume.
they do it every day.
So,
Good thing you didn't want to do it anymore.
So I learned quickly that, and he can be used in many applications, but he does a terrific job over there. I'll just start with a quick overview of the department. The department is made up of boots on the ground, 20 individuals, and broken up into 7 divisions: roads, streets and roads, water, vehicle maintenance, snow removal, stormwater management, buildings and grounds, and I think I named 7. I'll start off with roads. That's more than simply filling potholes. We maintain quite a few properties at the highway exits for the state because they just simply don't. And you would have to, the grass and things would be quite tall. We wouldn't be able to see through intersections and things, but
For the residents, can you just give approximately how many miles of road are you responsible for?
I believe there's between 17 and 20 county and about 60 lane miles of our
60
own.
miles of road. I think it's important for
Yeah.
the residents to understand the magnitude of your
Absolutely.
undertaking.
Yeah, 9 square miles. I believe Oakland is about that size. I'll go to stormwater. That's basically the purpose of that division is just the state has lots of regulations in many different areas. We have to keep consistent stormwater management plan, and what that does, and usually there's some things that I don't agree with. This one it's great. They set up some boundaries and some goals, and through borough ordinance that you people pass, there's certain things we have to do annually for public education, and that's everything from cleaning storm drains and locating outfalls. We mapped all our outfalls this way. If Vinny had a car accident and our basins and everything are numbered, we can look them up. We have a grid. If oil were to go into a basin on Spruce Street, we know where its outfall point is to the river. We can let fire know, and OEM how to capture that. But we own and operate just probably 2,500 catch basins, roadside catch basins alone. Every year, each one is inspected. And we average, the first year we went out, we years ago, Mayor Kamala probably remembers, we had a vac truck.
I was just going to ask you, do we have a vac
No.
truck?
So now, we'll actually go out. The first year, we went out and did it ourselves. The truck then was a 1982, old scavenger, they called it, and we would lift every lid, we had to clean every basin out because for 15 years prior, we hadn't done any. And it wasn't, it wasn't the department's fault, it was just there's a lot of other things and staffing was different then. So now, after doing this, what, Rich, 15 years probably, the stormwater pollution prevention and stuff, 14, a little longer.
You know what, I think the first regs actually probably came out in like 2003, 2004, right? So probably about 20 now.
So
Yeah,
we don't need a Vector truck?
Actually, we'll talk about that
Yeah.
when we get to the stormwater, when we get to the stormwater
It's on the
budget.
wish list.
Yes.
But
Okay,
it's-
all right.
Since we maintain and inspect them every year, and every time we go out and make a repair, when roads are repaved, we'll go out and this way, we'll check them at that time, even if we just checked them a month before. What we'd hate to see is the road get resurfaced and then there's a little hole next to the basin that, on the road that was just fixed. So whenever we open a lid, we'll shovel out whatever's in them. Annually, we probably, now that we do it every year, we're probably down to 100, between 100 and 150 that we clean, that we have to physically clean every year. It's getting less and less, and now we have the storm drain grates that are smaller, so water bottles and stuff can't pass through. So every time we resurface a road, we have to redo the storm grates as well, so it's all helping. And, so that's stormwater management, buildings and grounds, that's I'm gonna say three-man department, it's not in addition to the 20, collectively we're 20. Buildings and grounds, that's a three-man department. Their primary responsibilities are building maintenance, and it's all borough-owned buildings, including outbuildings. That includes the roofs on our wells, everything, and then those are the guys that you also see on the ball fields. And there's 9 baseball fields, the football field, 6 tennis courts, the bocce court, and there's 4 buildings alone at the rec field, 3 fire stations, senior center, library. So they get quite a bit done with 3 men, and that's Jim McWilliams is the supervisor down there. And if you've spent any time in one of these buildings, you know who Jim is.
Oh, yeah.
So, buildings and grounds, water, that's, you want to speak or you want me to?
Yeah, no, I can. So the water, we have 7 wells, 3 boosters, 4 treatment plants. I'm sure, majority of, especially the mayor and council and probably the residents also know that, we went through a PFAS filtration system upgrade. Currently, 2 of those 3 treatment plants are in service.
9 isn't yet?
9 is not yet, no. But they are working on it daily, excuse me, and it will, shortly be up and running.
We are in compliance.
Correct, we are in compliance, and that's why the contractor really wanted to focus on wells 10 and wells 5, because those were the ones that were out of compliance with the state regulations for PFAS. We decided to go to well 9 as, to be preemptive. Today it's okay, tomorrow might not be.
Right, well 9, there were certain quarters where it would be over, other quarters where it would be under, so I think the rolling annual average was only for like 1 quarter where it was over.
Right.
So it was not included in the compliance schedule from the DEP for the ACO. Right now, there's going to be some, we're waiting for the hookup, the electric hookup from O&R on well 9. We've also been talking about some additional upgrades that would take the form of a change order that you'll probably see at the end of March. The original pump is still in there. It's like 56 years old. There's I guess what's called packing material that is corroded and needs to be replaced.
This is in 9.
This is in 9. So it makes sense while we're in there and to just replace everything and have it new, rather than get this all buttoned up and 2 months later during the heat of the summer, it fails. So you're going to see a change order coming down on that. And assuming that you approve that, that would be authorized. They would do that work, then finish the connections, and then we'll
Turn it back up again.
Yeah.
Yeah, and because of the way the system's designed, 9 is critical.
Yes.
And right now, if you notice, in case you guys get questions, on the bottom of Yawpo Ave by the intersection of East Oak, you'll see a hydrant-to-hydrant connection. That's not, it's functional if we need it, but it's not in use right now. If we were to have trouble with Walnut Booster, we'd have to, it's kind of a zone switch, and it's another way to convey water to Spear Street Tank if need be. So I wanted to mention that, but until Kevin got into it, it escaped me. But
We also have approximately 600 fire hydrants that we flush annually. That is part of the Water Quality Accountability Act. Even prior to that, we were doing it yearly, but now it is actual law. About over 70 miles of water main, also including with the Water Quality Accountability Act. We are tasked to exercise the street valves, depending on the size of the street valve, depends on how often we do it. I do have a crew whenever we have time to go out and exercise those valves. We do, excuse me, do all the regulatory sampling, depending on the year, is depending on what we're really sampling for. And I think that's about it, unless I missed something.
no, you're good. From water, we'll speak about vehicle maintenance, and since Craig is here, I'll just, I just want to say that there's, it says, our vehicles, 250 pieces of equipment, but I mean, there's 2 men in there right now. It's Craig and Mike Falk, and Craig's here, so he's going to explain some things, but a little bit about Mike Falk is, this guy is a real asset, and he's like a car guy, I guess you would say, and he'll have his coffee and his lunch at his workbench, and he just doesn't walk away from that area. I never have to, where's Mike? I need him for something. He really, he'll eat his lunch under a vehicle. He just loves everything about it. And Craig, why don't you explain, typical, operations, if it's from, like services, or, it could be anything.
So, as it says here, it's 250 pieces of equipment. That is police cars. We service 5 of the fire vehicles, building department vehicles, all the DPW vehicles, and every other piece of equipment that we have, between blowers, weed whackers, the loader, backhoe. It's everything you could think of that, all the mowers, everything is.
And that's the thing. His hidden skill set was, I was grateful to, when I approached him about it, because I didn't, it's kind of a unique position where it's different than dealership work, where you're put under a vehicle and you're there till it's finished, and you get your time and money for that vehicle. I can't tell you how many times he's had a vehicle on the lift and something comes in that either trumps that vehicle, or one of my vehicles are broken down on the road, and it's just constant motion, and the fact that it's really 2 men in there is amazing.
And he's a big asset to the finance department as well. 250 things that he takes care of are all assets that we have to track and manage and keep record of. And he is phenomenal in terms of making sure everything is accounted for. It's got a sticker on it. It's in our system. So it's really helpful for our department as well.
So that includes the fire department's vehicles?
Well, the chief's vehicles.
The expeditions.
Not the engines?
No.
No, the apparatus, those are considered outsourced repairs funded through the fire department budget. Most of that equipment maintenance line item in the fire department is for, fixing vehicles and a preventative maintenance program on the fire apparatus.
So we keep vehicle records for everything? So you
Yes.
know when the last time they needed tires or oil change or tune up or? Really? Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna get
filed. Thank you.
Figure out how to open the door, sorry.
Yeah, Craig has, quite an extensive record-keeping system, and, he'll even manage trends and can kind of foresee and track the useful life of each vehicle. And in fact, his, a sheet that's here, I don't believe you have it, but he's got, for Public Works,
It's basically a replacement
yeah,
schedule for all of the vehicles.
and up to 2038, where we'll be, and that will, depending on the condition and the use, sometimes it gets moved around, but to answer that, he keeps records on everything, but he can also recite. I was talking to him today, and just one thing he said, I'm like, yeah, one thing I want to tell them about the increase in costs. Everyone knows that an oil changes more, and I'm like, 6 quarts of oil is a lot more than it was a couple of years ago, and I pointed at one of the vehicles, and he said, that's 9 quarts. So, I was just checking on him, of course.
Of course.
Craig, it's a good thing you didn't want to do this anymore, just so you know.
So there's no idea about electric vehicles ever coming into our pool?
Never say never. I think when we look at that, we try to ascertain whether it makes sense economically, quite frankly. Right? We looked at it years ago for hybrids, Priuses, and given the low amount of mileage, the ROI was like 20 years. We'd have to keep the vehicle in the fleet to break even on the cost of a gas-powered vehicle, even accounting for the projected cost of fuel and the like.
But I mean, I know there's a lot of tax incentives
I
from
think
the
it's
government.
probably the future at some point.
The technology on these is not finished for cold weather. Did you see what happened in Chicago?
Yeah.
That's, they're unreliable.
It's not there yet.
It's not even close.
There is, I guess, a electric police vehicle. I think there was maybe one department that we were aware of that had it. They were having a lot of problems with the battery packs not lasting a full 12-hour shift. Okay. You're looking at
technology's not even close.
You're looking at your charging
20,
infrastructure
25, 30
in addition to just buying the vehicles. You're looking at probably doubling the size of your primary control fleet from 5 or 6 to 10 or 12 because you need to have time for that vehicle to recharge. Okay. I mean,
Cold weather, there's no guarantee you're charging. Anything below 20 degrees, it's a
If there's an economic argument to be made, certainly I think probably with the police fleet, given the amount of mileage and fuel that they consume, and eventually I think the technology will get there. We're not seeing that operationally it's there yet.
Yeah, with Public Works, mid-storm, I don't have time for a down vehicle to plug it back in.
And we looked at, if you recall, we ordered a new senior bus not too long ago, and that's on order. And we had looked at buying an electric vehicle for that. The senior center director had done her research. There was grant money out there for it. And even with that grant money, the cost was like $38,000 more. And again, we have a senior transportation program, but given the relatively low mileage per year, we couldn't economically justify it. Operationally, it's rather limited in range compared to a gas vehicle. If we want to take it further afield, it runs the risk of needing to find a place to recharge on that trip without being able to do a round trip. I think it sounds great. I think when you really start getting into the details for a lot of our particular use cases, it's not mature enough yet.
Just asking.
So let's, I was gonna bring it back to get to the budget.
I was gonna ask Mr. Oberheim a quick question. Regards to, and actually, if you recall, when I first got on the council, the fleet was in pretty rough shape.
Yeah.
And now with the replacement program that's currently taking place, you feel that you're in an adequate position now with
Yes,
where we are now?
To touch on what the mayor is speaking, we went, and the thinking was a little different back then. We had a large undertaking of the building. Our building was had mold, it leaked, and a previous administrator was under the feeling that anything capital for Public Works, we were going to lay into that, set aside for that building for the day. So we went, Craig, you know, how many years without, 8 years, 8 years without replacing a vehicle. And my argument was just because we're building a building, our vehicles don't stop getting older. And there were some pretty times that I got to be honest, I was during that period, and the stories about having street signs as floorboards, they're true. That's not an urban legend, that was.
Our OEM vehicle was like that.
Yeah.
And we only
Yeah.
auctioned off the last of those, what, two
Two
years ago?
Yeah.
Somebody bought it.
But
It was
now.
street sign, well,
It might not be running, but someone bought it.
I'm comfortable now, but it's something that, like, and it's kind of funny. I explained this list, and we'll share this tomorrow. But it goes to 2038, and then it says start over, because the vehicles, when we started the aggressive replacement program, some of those vehicles are getting replaced already.
Okay.
And basically for the salt trucks, the large trucks, we try to keep them at least 20 years, Craig. And the frontline pickup trucks, salt trucks, 10 to 15, but the winter beats them up, and the salt, and that's their primary use, other than driving from A to B. When we put miles on them, it's out pushing snow, and it's a violent, you know, it's something you have to experience, because the noise and the jostling and the violent, you know, it will take the glasses off your face if you catch a raised manhole that heaved because of frost. So, but to answer your question, we're in a good spot right now, but I don't want to give, I don't want to tell you we're great and we'll ask in 5 years again.
No,
But we
but
need to.
It has to
keep
be
the
an ongoing process.
Absolutely.
That's the question. I want to
Yeah,
make sure that
and-
this is happening.
And, you know, collectively, we have made tremendous, you know, we've come a long way in a rather short period of time, and now we just gotta, it's an evolution, we just have to keep.
So you're in a good spot right now. We
Yeah.
just have to just keep moving.
We just gotta keep.
When I first came on the council, on the OEM vehicle, used to look down, you could see the road.
Yeah.
Sitting in the.
Yeah, that was his first was an old DPW truck, so.
Okay.
Go through solid waste.
Yeah.
Snow.
Yep, okay, all right, yeah.
In terms of the.
The overall, yeah,
The
solid
overview
waste
before we get-
is, and Kevin can probably speak on that as well, but it's a contracted service, but we still have a recycling coordinator. We probably receive 25 calls per day on solid waste alone, whether it's, you know, when can I put out electronics, things like that. And the contract expires at the end of 2025? At the end of 2025. And, you know, we'll touch more on that, but it's a contracted service. You can, some weeks you can put something out to your curb every day and it'll get picked up. Snow removal is an all-hands-on-deck operation from start to finish. When it snows, first guys come in, salters will go out, and they'll make a decision when to bring in the drivers and contractors if and when they're available. And from streets after a storm, it usually takes from the snow stopped falling about 6 hours to clean cul-de-sacs. And then we'll get right out to sidewalks and try to have them, you know, because Oakland has a 24-hour ordinance they're supposed to be, and sometimes these guys just need to go home and get some rest, and it's kind of rough, but it's better to do them before they go home than after. So sometimes they could be out there in the center of town at 3 in the morning doing sidewalks, and then go home, get a couple hours sleep, and have to be in the next morning. So, and what's the wastewater, right?
Yes.
Wastewater we didn't touch. Kev?
Sure. So, as you all know, that we recently decommissioned 3 wastewater treatment plants. We converted all the wastewater into lift stations, which eventually all of our wastewater gets pumped to NBCUA, to their treatment plant. Right now, we have, the project is still ongoing on the decommissioning side of it. The plants are offline. Every single drop of sanitary sewer is getting pumped out of Oakland, so we are not treating any more wastewater. The contractor is doing, essentially knocking down the old treatment plants. Today, they were at Oakwood Knolls. I believe it might be tomorrow or Friday. They are going to Skyview and then eventually to Chapel Hill.
Oakwood Halls is done?
It is very close to being done. I was there today right after lunch. They had, I believe, all the majority of the pits removed, majority of them backfilled. There's still a couple other pits that they have to pull, but you're looking about like a day or so of work.
Have we reached a decision, Richard, on their request to turn that into a couple parking spaces?
Yeah, we've actually been working with the borough engineer on, I guess there are actually 3 sort of options that were presented. We gave them feedback on that, as well as some additional screening. I think they're in the process of costing that out for us now. And it would provide, I think an additional 6 parking spaces under the select.
Pending.
Yeah,
We put a driveway on the other
Councilman,
side.
we had a public meeting with them up actually at the site about a month ago.
Yeah.
4 weeks ago, and had that discussion with them. So they brought it back and they're working on it currently.
Good.
All right, and we can start going through the individual budgets.
All right, do you want to, I can quickly get through this by just, you'll see a 21.8% reduction in the one column, and it's not, our brilliance, but it's just, it's a movement of the street sweeping operations out of streets and roads to stormwater management. And so the next page, you'll see an increase. You want to ask questions, or you want to wait till the end for questions, or?
I think ask as we go.
Yeah.
This one's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, and you will see slight increases, but it's not, one thing I can say, rather than say it now, than 100 times over as we turn each page, we don't really purchase items other than, asphalt's petroleum-based. We're like a repair and maintenance service, so in buildings and grounds, you may see, and I don't have, we're not there yet, but 1 year we could spend $10,000 more, and then 2 years have a lull, and then an increase again, and that could simply be something as an air conditioner on this building went that was no longer in warranty, but it's a $15,000 item, so, it's not a guess, it's a running average and an in-depth look at the previous year's needs and what was required, but I can say that about every division we're going to go through, so I'll just give that to you once.
And I'll give you the other side of that. During these budget meetings with Anthony, he came in pretty slim. There was a couple of times where we had long conversations about having to take a budget up a little bit because we thought that he had gone too slim. So he and his department that put together their budget really do a good job of looking at what they spend and what they think they need, and they don't spend up until the budget. I do not get requests at the end of the year for just spend, so we can use up all our budget. They really are, this is what we think we need, and we're only going to buy, what we have to run the business.
Not a lot of October.
No.
No.
That could be.
That's what you told me last year. So.
Yeah.
And I've experienced that on the other side.
Yeah, I know, that's why.
You know what happens if you do that, then December something happens and I gotta go to David and say.
No, I know, that's why, David and I talked about that.
Yeah.
And I think everybody here understands, my approach, David's approach, our collective approach to budgeting and asking for what you legitimately think that you're going to require to run your department. coupled, I think, with a bunch of years coming out, during and coming out of the Great Recession, going back that far, where we did have to put budget freezes in place for December. I think, I know I still have that in the back of my mind as we get late in every budget year. But, you know, it's certainly an odd occurrence when we sit down in the fall and do the departmental budget meetings, when I'm the one there going, well, I think we need to increase this line. And they look at me funny because that's usually not the way it goes. But yes, right? Who are you? Like, who are you? But, you know, I think that's where we've been at with in the last couple of years with some of these inflationary pressures.
And before COVID and before the recession and things, we went quite a while and where we were flat, you know, with anything that was discretionary. You know, if DEP changed a sampling regulation, obviously we have to do what they say, but our spending was quite consistent. And you know, now, you know, you see it at the supermarket and you see slight increases in throughout this budget.
So why don't we just dig into this, we'll
Yeah.
go through quickly.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
if you've got questions, let's just go motor right through, we've got about half a dozen pages.
Stormwater. I mentioned on the road side that street sweeping was moved to stormwater management. You'll see that in the contracted services line.
Yep.
So
That's
there.
Right, and the other part of contracted services there is also, and Pat, this goes to your question earlier, some money there to do jetting as a service with NBCUA this year.
Do what? I'm sorry. Storm sewer line jetting.
Oh, okay. Cleaning it out.
Okay.
Don't know that we'll need that full allocation, but that's sort of based on the inspection activity. We may want to look at, you know, buying our own equipment down the road, but we thought this was a cost-effective approach this year, especially with the enhanced permit requirements for stormwater. We want to make sure that we're in compliance with all of that too, and properly maintaining our system. You know, you saw a complaint last week from a resident. We have an initiative underway to replace all of the storm sewers, especially in the Pleasureland neighborhood right now, because they're old corrugated metal and they rot away. It's not like concrete pipe. So there's separate capital allocations for that, but you know, it's all part and parcel of how we want to maintain our infrastructure and of meeting these enhanced stormwater management permit requirements as well.
And these are mandated by the state, we have no control over.
Yeah, in one way or another for about the past 20 years.
Yep. Anybody else have anything on stormwater management? Good, next page. Solid waste?
Solid waste, Kevin kind of touched on it. It's the increase is.
Everyone's having.
Yeah, and there's
All my times.
also the recycling. There's no return on recycling at this time. It's actually, it's cost more expensive. It's more expensive to get rid of. It was a commodity. We used to get money for it, and
You mean they lied to us?
right. Yeah. And
How about that?
And now we actually pay more to get rid of the recycling, to have it carded and tipping, they call it, where they bring it to the station. It's more than the solid waste, the garbage.
And we've had several discussions about this at the council level, struggling with this huge budget increase and how to really deal with this. And,
Yeah,
you know,
and one thing, if you wanted to talk, you wanted to mention it, I know there was a grant available for research on, well, you could probably explain it.
Right. So last year we applied for, and by we, it's not just Oakland, but the other flow towns as well, applied for and obtained a LEAP grant, Local Efficiency Aid Program, I think is that acronym, to provide $50,000 to undertake a study that would explore shared service options for our towns for garbage collection. And that study will look at both collectively outsourcing and what that level of service may look like, how we harmonize our levels of service to accomplish that, and also if it makes sense to bring the service in-house and either have one of our communities be the lead agency or perhaps do a joint meeting type model for that. I'll actually see my counterpart from Franklin Lakes tomorrow, and I'm going to ask him, because I thought Franklin Lakes was awarding the contract at the end of February for that study. And it's expected to take about 6 months, and that should give us some good information on how to proceed.
Is that $50,000 for the study for regionalization of just one town, or Franklin get 50,000, Oakland gets 50,000? How, do you know?
Yeah, right, so it's $50,000 collectively for the study.
Okay.
Uh,
For a
Flow.
lead agency for the grant?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. It's just a study grant.
Yep.
The contract cost is $49,500.
Shocking. And who's the?
The vendor is MSW. It's a nationwide consulting company specializing in solid waste.
And where the grant originate from the state?
Yep, it's a DCA, Department of Community Affairs grant.
So, obviously, one of the operational problems is everyone's contracts expire at different times.
Yes.
It's one of the challenges we have on the other side of the county.
Yes, yes. Ours.
That's like a huge rock in the middle of the road.
Right, we'd have to figure out a way, timing-wise, to make that work. Our contract expires at the end of 2025, so probably in a year, we will be going back out to bid. We will be looking at that, given the lead times on doing anything else. We did a 3-year contract because when you looked, we asked for pricing in the bid for 5 years. Again, we only received one bid. On a percentage basis, there was a rather more significant increase in years 4 and 5. So we decided to do a 3-year
And
contract.
the key thing you said is we put it out for bid, we're only getting one response.
That's been a major
Well,
issue.
that's one of the problems. But one of the things we can do is, and we have to talk to the other communities that would be in the study, is to, when if the contracts are up, say, the study's gonna take a year, year and a half, is to insist on an opt-out clause. And if you insist on the opt-out clause in your new contract, you might be even surprised how that may affect the price. Just the mere fact that you're looking into it may change.
I also brought out.
But you can't, in other words, if it's gonna be Oakland, Franklin Lakes, and Mawa, say, you've gotta get the governing bodies and on board. And, there's elections every year, and people bring different agendas into these things. But if you can get the attorneys to enter into an agreement, a preliminary agreement, to just something in writing to suggest that the town, that, say we talk to Mawa tomorrow, everyone can sign a letter of intent, basically. A letter of intent, something in writing that you could hold up to the public and jawbone, say the politics changes next year and, there's a way, you could say, hey, this is a shared service we're agreeing to and we all have the same, so something that would put pressure on incoming people politically that they can say, I don't know what you think of that idea, but I proposed it in Emerson, so.
I also told Richard that Wayne contracted with a company from New York and saved $1 million. So I know we have to get permission for them to operate in New Jersey, but they saved considerable amount of money.
Right.
Patterson and Wayne.
Well, if you're doing Wayne and Patterson, they have permission to operate in New Jersey, so.
Yeah.
Right. But they're not gonna like the opt-out clause, but they also have a duty, they can, even if they're not on for them to shut down and just say, we're not picking up garbage, and try to, that won't really fly. Get an injunction on that for public safety reasons. So, there's some, we have some, but you gotta get cooperation
Yeah.
with the other towns.
This is a tough thing to solve.
This is something where, for as large as our increase has been,
Others.
I can say with, it's cold comfort, but our huge increase was over the span of several years.
Right.
Franklin Lakes and my contract with like 100% or more in 1 year when they redid their contracts.
I'm
So
seeing 65% in other towns on the other side of the county.
Yeah. That's good. Back to the budget.
Sorry, but that's,
All right.
sorry.
Just a couple of really quick things on this budget. You're going to see a huge change there in personnel. As Anthony said, there's 20 workers in the department. That's not adding anybody, it's just reclassifying the person that maintains the compost facility. His salary is going to be allocated there now. The removal contract, again, it's up according to the bid spec award. Last year, for some reason, we just put everything in garbage removal, but that number That paid and charge number of almost 1.6 million includes the recycling as well. This year, we're making sure again that it's reflected in the correct line item. And then the disposal tipping fees for garbage has a, I think, $3 per ton increase year over year that's affecting that particular line item.
Could you just expand upon that a little bit of what's happening and why the county, the county driving a tipping fee?
Actually, no, the county's, well, that's a smaller
Right.
related issue. So we went out to bid with the other flow communities. Wyckoff was the lead agency on a 5-year contract for disposal. The county facility was another option. We awarded the contract to GATA. They had the best pricing over the 5-year term. There are cost escalators in every year of the contract, though. And so you're going to see an additional amount per ton every year in that 5-year agreement. This year it happens to be $3 per ton, and it's going up. The other issue is the BCUA imposed, after that contract award, a $1.89 per ton fee on all waste generated in Bergen County. Ostensibly to sort of replace funding from another revenue source that had dried up for them. And the question now is, who pays for that? Okay, it's not in our contract. It's something that we're trying to work out with, with the disposal company at this point. All right, but there is money in there for that eventuality.
I just thought it was important for the council to understand that this is being driven by the BCUA.
Snow removal is what it is. This year, there was a slight increase in salt per ton. It's non-reflected in the budget. We rely on a snowplow trust. If we get this killer winter, the numbers here are based on what my average needs would be for the materials and the materials and equipment and supplies. That's everything from plow lights to whatever Craig may need to keep the fleet functional. And we have 2023. It's a kind of a good news story, Dave, if you want to share it.
Yeah, it's a very, very light. We've had a couple of years in a row of a little bit lighter in terms of activity around snow. We had replenished at the end of 2022, so we actually didn't need to do any salt replenishment during 2023. Probably got some coming in for this year. This all goes into the storm removal trust. So this money moves over into the trust. That enables us also to spend that on other events. We'd be able to do anything with storm removal, any storm cleanup. We've used this and we'll probably plan to do it again this year for purchase of capital items that we can take off of the capital budget. So while phenomenal year, why would you budget $113,000 when you only spent 16? It's, well, that money's going to move, and you don't know what's going to happen next year in terms of storms. So
right now we're in great shape. I think the first requisition was for 20 or 30,000, and that's about used up. But we are full. But I don't want to say we're in great shape. People are looking at it as the winter's over. The winter for us is half over because around
November,
we flip to the
December.
calendar pages and we have about 3 months left of winter, and we've had Halloween storms, we've had November blizzards, and April blizzards.
Snowed out.
Yeah.
Next, buildings and grounds.
Okay, buildings and grounds, I explained the functions. Everything here, the increases are driven by price cost. We're not doing anything new. We're just, the park maintenance, clay is more expensive for the ball field, seed, paint, repair items. There's, again, we've seen, rooftop air conditioned units that were $7,000 or can be $14,000, $15,000 to get replaced. And as I said, it's a repair and maintenance thing. and this is that we do, so hopefully, like with snow at the end of the year, I have money to give back, but sometimes we're transferring in from buildings and grounds and from other divisions, and sometimes it also goes out. So we're hoping, again, this is a kind of a trend-based thing, and with some inflation in there. For the last line there, rental of land, Susquehanna, we have a drain pipe that's across the street from Public Works, that's on their property, and the parking across the street. Since we were leasing the land, we've made parking there. They didn't have an issue with that, so we have some added parking, but there is a drain pipe under it. There's another the parking lot in the center of town where the park is going to be, the station park. There's some commuter parking there that's on their property, and we have another area where there's actual water main and that go under the railroad tracks and things like that. So the rental of land is, and that's a number that evolves. And Rich, when Lisa was clerk, we've tried reaching out to the railroad and give me, because we get a slight increase it's not every year, every couple of years. And you'll see this one is buildings and grounds. This one is where I charge off the parking lot. You'll see one in water, and that's where the storm water and that goes. But I have a tough time getting an answer on what this year's the actual numbers will be. So
Anybody have any questions on buildings and grounds?
I have a question. I know this is operational. Is there any capital expenditures, on the buildings that we need to be, is that in there? Yeah.
That'll be a couple pages down.
Yeah, okay.
Just so we don't forget, a lot of that stuff is already on ordinances previously.
Right.
That we're, still working through design and plans for. So there may not be a lot of building stuff, I don't think, in this year's.
Yeah.
But over in the capital plan in total, there's quite a bit.
Okay.
I can send you the schedule that's got all of them in if you'd like.
Yeah, it's just, what's falling apart?
DPW?
Vehicle maintenance. The increase, I don't want to go, repeat the same things, but it's inflation driven.
Increase nominal, matches the cost.
Yeah.
Consumer price index increase.
Yeah, Craig, you want to just give what if just the parts alone on a Ford Explorer, brakes and rotors?
Oh, yeah. Brakes and rotors, for our cost, front and rear, is just about $600.
And that doesn't include labor.
That's not labor, it's not, it's just.
That's just cutting rotors or
parts
or replacing?
Replacing.
And police car tires.
Tires are $230 a piece.
So $1,000 to put. So $1,600 to do brakes and tires on a police vehicle, and that doesn't include labor.
That doesn't include labor.
So it's just inflation driven.
And that can be several times per year per vehicle.
Yeah.
Anybody have any questions on this? Nope, next page. Utility budget.
Utility budget, PFAS, and the sewer project. That's really what's driving the expenses here. We have the filters that Kevin spoke about that are going on the wells, and the 3 booster stations, and the brand new booster stations, and the sewer package plants coming offline.
And you also see in here the first starting to pay for the PFAS treatments. What you're seeing here is just the interest on the note. When we start paying that down and go to longer term financing, principal payments going to be coming into this too. That's a $4.7 million note that's going to be out there. So that's going to also be a significant impact that we're going to be seeing here down the road.
7 million?
4.7 million.
Oh, 4.7, okay.
Still $4.7 million.
So it's not inexpensive. We're already in the process of putting all the stuff we need to inside of the iBank, so that when we go to Soon's on the sewers, hopefully we will get some principal relief on that from the future, because we do have principal relief for some of the PFAS treatment stuff that we're doing. So we're, even though SUNES isn't required yet, we're starting the process now, so we're in the system so we can get some of that money back.
And the 4.7, has interest rate been calculated yet, or we're still?
Interest rates this year is at 4, was at a little bit under 4.2. So I certainly would not go to long-term financing now. I'm hoping that the rates are going to come back down a little bit. When we did our last bond, we were just over 2, and that's
It's an election year.
it's real money. Yes.
So at the end of the day, because of the PFAS, we're looking at about $48 increase in water bill. Everybody?
That really does account for more than the increase, because we've had taken capital down a little bit to try to keep that from being too much of a shock.
Anybody else, questions from that?
And we kind of just hit the wastewater, the sewer utility, we just covered everything. David spoke about that, and we just did it with water. So if you want to move, everyone's comfortable, we'll move to capital.
Go to capital?
The first group of expenditures are items needed at the rec complex or around the rec facility. Field 7 irrigation. Rich, did you want to talk about funding, or we're just going to?
I think just talk about the projects briefly themselves,
Okay, all
and then I'll talk about the funding.
All right, the Field 7's right by the Danny D building, and if you're ever there, it's the only area that doesn't have sprinklers. And if you're ever there mid-July, it's like concrete, because you coach down there. There's we put out water cannons, but we want to do that, and also for the camp, it's kind of a two birds with one stone thing. It's when camp's down there, these kids will go through the sprinklers there. It's right behind the Danny D building. The kids love it, but it's not only that. It just needs to be. It's kind of a safety thing. That field gets like hard as concrete, and we want to utilize the whole facility. So that was a request through, recreation and shared by us as well. Bleachers around the complex. There are some pretty old units, and
Safety reason.
yeah, so we're going to upgrade some of the bleachers, and that'll be an ongoing thing. That $30,000 isn't for all of them. We'll just do the worst and come back to you annually with that. Equipment, we spoke about the need to keep the stock rolling. And now this 130 you see for the 2 pickups, that's plows, Craig?
Plows, lighting, radios.
That's
pick up everything associated
on the
with
road.
plow.
That's for 2 of them, and lettering the whole bit. The bucket truck is interesting, Craig. That is a
1997.
97 that we purchase used. So it's
So it's going to be a new one you buy?
It's time, yeah.
it's time.
And when you do with the old one?
We could auction it. I mean, it'll be good to someone, a contractor, or some electrical contractor. But
And you can see on the pickup truck and the snow removal that the funding is over under other funds. That's where we're going to hit the storm removal trust.
I thought you
for
said 2 pickup trucks, 130. It says 65.
Yeah, 65 inside,
Oh, I
and
got- yeah,
65
well,
outside.
total.
That's a typo. That's a typo on this for me. I made some changes about an hour ago, and I didn't get them all the way through.
So it's not 65?
It's 130 for 2. 65 is funded by capital. The other 65 is funded through the trust.
Right, and with the rec items, also, we'd be looking to use the trust and/or, well, one open space trust, rec trust, there's trust funding sources for those items.
Streets and road improvements, we have an annual road resurfacing program. That is the first line. Storm sewers. Rich explained, a lot of it we received work we've recently been doing, we received grants for. Most recently, I believe someone received a question about Birch Street last week, that Rich brought to my attention, and we already had Northwest Bergen, our shared service, come in video where from Birch Street on Lakeside to the Rampo River, and that right in that intersection, there's a union there that goes from corrugated metal to concrete pipe. The concrete pipe installed at the same time is intact. Going towards Grandview, that section of Birch, we were able to get the camera in about 13 feet, and the bottom of the line, the storm drain is rotted out. It's corrugated metal, so essentially there's a dirt bottom, and when the river comes up, they'll see and the outfall is below the level of the river, you'll actually see water come out of some of those storm drains. So every year we do something.
So we're gonna replace that.
We're gonna, you know what, that is one of the, it's a recent problem, but it's after we looked at it, the integrity of the bottom of the pipe creates a weakness that, it could create a problem for the stability of the road, so.
We're gonna report on that, right, Mayor?
So actually, the question is they're doing work down there right now, are we gonna just put a change order in, or how are we gonna?
We're not going to be able to do that because of the terms of the grant and grant deadline that's coming up for that. It would have to be undertaken as a separate project.
But we have other things we can chunk with it, that it may be, maybe cost effective to, like you said, it's why they're there.
While they're there, I mean, it
But,
makes sense.
we have other things, and we have some that are going in with the road program. So we could probably, it's a short run, it's not a great distance, and we can probably come up with a number pretty quick, and lump it in with the road program, because there is some drainage work.
Okay, thank you.
So this 240, that's what we get from the state or the county?
No, that's the soft costs. We break it out. We'll actually be spending 1.2 million on physical road stuff. The 240 is design, engineering, construction management, oversight. If we went out to bonding, any other cost.
But we do get money for our road program, don't we?
We normally get a municipal aid grant through the NJDOT annually. That amount would be inclusive of that grant money. That's usually how we work it.
You don't know the amount?
No, I mean, Yuapo Ave is the latest one that we'll be undertaking. We already have that grant. I think the grant amount there is like close to 200,000 or so. I don't think we've really talked about the next funding round. It hasn't been announced yet, and we haven't talked about selecting a project for that yet.
So is Yuapo going to be repaved this year?
The intention that I've talked about with the engineer is to try and get that repaved this fall.
Because that's in pretty rough shape.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there's been roads, Mayor, like that we've probably, have gone on. We applied for a grant, and it took, I think, some of these roads 2 or 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
But we waited and ended up, maintain it with patchwork, and then ended up receiving grants for it. So, but like Rich said, that Yuapo should be, it meets a lot of requirements. It's a direct school route. It's a bus route.
And Breakneck Road, the county has agreed to do it?
Yes, the county.
I gotta go that road.
Should be
Almost every day.
April 4th, right? About Rich.
April 8th,
eighth.
something like that. They're
And
starting
also
milling.
202 down to the Mawa line.
Yeah, from Thunderbird area.
Yeah, Thunderbird down.
Thunderbird to Mawa is getting done as well by the county.
Good.
Storm sewers
You
and
didn't have
drainage,
any
sidewalk,
input on that, did you?
like,
Influence?
we have sidewalk repairs and maintenance projects is an annual thing. Skipping down to buildings and grounds, Senior center window treatment's not my thing, not my request. You know, that was through
I think-
senior,
I think it's a good
but
idea.
build.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
You're just stalling, you didn't pick him
So,
out.
so regardless of the facility, if it's
I think it's a
buildings,
wonderful idea.
it kind of goes under the DPW's purview. The senior center director had put in for window treatment replacements, because I think the ones that are original, she had tried to get money through community development unprogrammed funds. That was not deemed eligible, so she put in the budget request for it. Same thing with upgrading the men's room in the senior center. The women's room was upgraded a number of years ago. David seems to think that the
men's
should be
room
a
looks
priority
fine.
there. See.
The men don't
But
care, let's be
in
honest.
any event, the senior center director is, has, I think, taken a lot of pride and a lot of care in maintaining that facility and trying to do upgrades. But she's been out on maternity leave. She's returning at the beginning of April, so that sort of coincided with the budget process. We weren't actually able to meet with her to talk about those projects before she went out. So we put them in here as a placeholder pending a discussion with her.
DPW fuel tank upgrades?
Yeah, that's, the system is, I believe, 2007.
Yeah.
How old is the building? Are there any leaks?
2000, it's, some of the equipment is now at the end of its useful life, the underground alarm system, the decking, the concrete from the salt and everything. These are regulatory upgrades that we get inspected every year. There's a permit for that fuel system.
And what
So
about the?
it's required.
Yahoo firehouse replacement?
Yeah,
They're not here now, so you can say what you want.
yeah, no, they've actually, Eric lives in that building, and
What are we doing here?
Roof replacement.
Needs a new room.
Leaks.
Okay.
yeah, they got some pretty nice stuff in there
When
gets
they're
wet.
throwing the stuff around, sometimes it sticks.
So, moving along, Rich touched on the senior center bathroom and the dispatcher AC unit. This building had, it kind of was a work in progress. This was a dungeon. I believe a gun range at one time, years
Yes,
ago.
was, yeah.
And,
Yeah.
so there's different different sections of the building were refurbished at different times, and there's a lot of equipment in there. It gets hot in there, and the AC units for that portion of the building is at the end of its useful life. Constant repairs, and it's like a 24/7 operation, so we want to schedule that before it's a complete failure.
Anybody else have any questions for DPW? No. Nothing, I want to thank you. Thank you for everything you do.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for coming down.
Richard, I have a couple of questions from yesterday's presentation, but I'll come in to your office and ask, rather than hold everybody up.
Sure, okay.
We thank you for that.
And anytime.
Is there anything else? Do you have anything else before the council that we need to discuss? Anyone else have any further questions?
Good work, guys.
Appreciate it. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you.
It's beneficial for citizens too. They haven't seen this in a while. We need to see what goes on. Good money spent. This is actually a really nice forum to have. We haven't done this in a few years.
Yeah, it's a little less,
It's nice, more comfortable here.
Yeah.
So, but I think it was important for the residents to really hear,
But
understand.
I'll tell you, it's been enlightening for me. I mean, even though I've been on the council as long as I've been on, some of the things are refresher, that I didn't know, I just forgot
Yeah.
about. It's important for
why
those,
I
if
bring
there is
it up.
anybing listening, for them to hear it
And I
too,
went like
because
this
it's
that
important.
time.
Well, if there's no further business from the council, meeting adjourned.
Motion.
Motion to it. Second, all in favor? Aye. All right, we'll do it again. I did this all day at work too.
Poor guy.
Thanks again.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Thanks.
Good night. Thanks again, guys. Good job.
Thank you.
Good job, Dave.
Thank you.
Richard.